All right. Welcome back, everybody. Happy Wednesday so far. If you're here in Portland, hopefully staying nice and dry. Nice rainy day. I looked over and Mira's mouth was wide open. Rainy day here in Portland today. So hopefully everyone's inside and staying dry and everything like that. We're going to continue on with some of our closed guard material. And this might be the last one for closed guard before we move on to some other stuff with the next class. And then I also wanted to add in a new component to the structure of these virtual classes that we've been doing. I was emailing with one of our students here who's a fairly new student to jiu-jitsu, and he was saying that he seems interested in trying to participate in these virtual classes in some capacity, but doesn't have a roommate or somebody that he lives with or anything like that in order to try the moves out with or whatever. And so for today, what I think the format will be is I'll sort of show the technique, and then I'll use Mira, of course, for the demo, and then I'll show sort of an action that you can try to replicate if you don't have a partner, and then obviously Mira will get to do it on me as well. So you'll get to see at least something that you can try to work on to replicate these techniques, even if you don't have a partner or somebody to practice them with at home. So anyway, so Karthik, if you're watching, then had you in mind for this one. So hopefully you can try these out and kind of keep growing your jiu-jitsu skill set even when you're isolated at home. So okay, so we're gonna again continue with our closed guard. And one thing we had mentioned in a couple of the previous classes on the closed guard is that the top player, if they know what they're doing, they're not going to ever put their hands on the floor because they're pretty they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to some submissions and some things like that if their hands go on the ground. And we never really got into why or how. So today's class is going to look at 3 different things that we can capitalize on if my partner does put their hands on the ground, either by their choice or I made them lose balance and they needed to put their hand on the mat to catch balance and things like that. These are definitely not going to be the only 3 techniques that exist, but I think there are 3 that are going to work well for this format and would be 3 to kind of keep in mind if you're trying to follow along with these. Okay. So the first one will be actually sort of familiar and probably review from one of the other virtual classes that we've done. So I'm going to go closed guard right here, and Mira's going to be, of course, top player in the closed guard. Okay. And again, the idea for today is that she got caught with her hands on the ground right here. Okay. She wouldn't normally want to do that, but for today, we're saying that one way or another, I got her hands to the floor. Okay. So the first submission that works really well, or the first attack that works really well off of here, is that same Kimura that we worked on in combination with the hip bump sweep. Okay, so in order to do this, she's making it really easy for me to make a grip on her wrist. So I'm going to just take my hand and make a grip on the wrist that should be very easy to come by. And then what I'm going to do is come up to this elbow, and I'm going to reach over the top of her arm and snake through and get my wrists connected. I immediately want to start forcing her arm to bend. So I'm going to be trying to push her arm inwards like this. Okay. And as you guys probably remember, for the Kimura, I need to lay on my left side if I'm going to Kimura this arm. So I'm going to have to unlock my legs. I'm going to scoot to the side onto my left side. Don't fall on your belly. Up a little bit. Yeah, like that. Okay. And I want to make this leg not down by her butt, but I want to make it up as high as I can. And I'm going to think basically about sliding her hand along my leg until she taps out. There's the tap out right there. Okay, so let's look at that one more time. Okay, so we're in the closed guard. Mira's hands are on the ground for today. So I'm going to make a control of her wrist. I'm going to sit up to my elbow, and I'm going to snake my arm through and make this control right here. So my left hand is coming and it's getting my own wrist. And then I'm going to try to make her arm bend as much as I can right away. And I'm also keeping her arm pinned to my sternum area so that as I fall backwards and I switch sides, her arm stays connected to my sternum area. Now I want her arm right against my leg, and I'm going to just slide her hand up until she taps out. You can tap with the other hand. Makes it a little easier. Okay? So that's going to be the basics of that one. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, if you're practicing without a partner, I'm going to show how you would do this one. Obviously, you need to visualize a little bit and have like an imaginary partner there. And after I show maybe 2 reps of that, then we'll have Mira get her turn and get to do her revenge on me. Okay? So without a partner, I'd be sitting here and I imagine my partner just put their wrist right here like this. Okay? So I'm going to grab the wrist, I'm going to unlock my legs, and I'm going to sit up so that my elbow is on the floor, and I'm going to pretend that this hand is looping over their arm, around it, and I'm going to make control on my own wrist right here. Okay? As I do this, I'm going to fall back and I'm going to switch sides. Okay, so I'll spin this way so you guys can see. So now I'm on my left side, and this leg is as high up their back as I can possibly make it. If my leg is down this way, that's going to be a problem. And then with this bottom leg, I'm keeping my foot a little bit high so that they can't step over it and escape my guard. Okay? So I'm in a position kind of like this, and then I'm going to be making their hand try to touch the back of their head. Okay, so one more time, I'll go from a slightly different angle. So step 1, I would make a control of their wrist. Step 2, I'm going to sit up, so I'm on my elbow, and my arm snakes over their arm, around the back of it, and it gets my own wrist. Now, right now, I'm very much on my right butt cheek. My left butt cheek is not on the mat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fall back and switch to my other butt cheek. Okay? This leg is holding their posture down, and then I'm trying to make their hand touch the back of their head for the tap out there. Okay? All right, so if you're practicing at home, that would be how you would sort of visualize this move and pretend that you've got like an invisible partner. And now Mira's going to go ahead and do it on me. And so if you want to follow along and get a few more reps with Mira, then here's your chance. So I'll have her head pointed at the camera, more or less. Okay, so I'm in her closed guard, and my hands are on the floor right here. So what she's going to do is make the control of my wrist right there. She's going to sit up to her right elbow and snake over and make a control of both of her wrists together. Go ahead and keep your grip, and we'll just spin this way. Okay, keep your grip right on my wrist. There you go. So everybody can see the grip that she's got on my wrist right now. Okay. Now her legs are going to have to unlock because she's not going to be able to do the rest of it with locked legs. And in one motion, she's going to kind of roll from her left butt cheek, or from her right butt cheek to her left, and then she's going to basically try to make my hand touch the back of my head. Yep. Okay. So one more time, we'll start about this 45 degree. We'll just.
What happens if I can't grab my own wrist?
The question is, what happens if she can't grab her own wrist? You should pretty much always be able to, if we can get the angle correct. What happens is she's going to want to try to snake her, especially as a shorter person. She's going to want to try to make sure that this left arm comes pretty close to my elbow. If Mira is shorter than me and she tries to make her arm go over my top of my shoulder, she won't feel like she can reach. But if she goes near my elbow, she should be able to reach pretty well. Okay, so let's scoot just a little more away from the camera. Okay, right about here. Okay, so she's got the grip. She's going to sit up to her elbow and reach. Yeah, so this feels really strong to me already. My arm feels in a lot of danger. Okay, she unlocks her legs. Yep, drops it back. Yeah, so that's a really very nice Kimura right there. That second one actually felt like really good. Like if she got mad at me, she would probably break my arm or something like that, which hopefully she won't do. I'm only very nice to her. Okay? So that's attack number 1. That's our Kimura attack. Okay, so let's mix it up and we'll go to attack number 2. Okay. So attack number 2 is going to be one we've not done yet, but is personally one of my favorite attacks from the closed guard, and this is called an omoplata. Okay, so it's going to actually be very similar to the shoulder lock we just did, the Kimura, or a Kimura can be a shoulder or an elbow. It's going to be very similar, but instead of me using my hands to manipulate Mira's arm, I'm going to use my legs to force her arm into kind of the same position. Okay, and so again, it's going to work pretty well if she has her hands on the mat. Okay, so if Mira has her hands on the mat, this is a great time for me to try it. okay? And I only need one. I don't need both sides, right? So, one thing that might happen is maybe I made Mira off balance and just this one side came down to the mat, but the other hand is like on me somewhere or something like that. This is a perfect time to try this, okay? I want this arm sort of out of the way so I can move the leg that's away from the camera. I can move it without feeling trapped by this arm, okay? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit up a lot like our hip bump sweep. You just relax. I'm gonna sit up a lot like our hip bump sweep, just like this, just so I can get a little momentum. So it's the same as the first move. I could even make her think I'm gonna go for Kimura because it's like exactly the same, okay? But then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fall back, and this leg, the one closer to the camera, is gonna do a swivel and try to pin her shoulder down to the ground, okay? So we'll try to go a little bit slow. So I'm here, and then she's gonna need this hand to catch herself so she doesn't face plant, and I'm gonna try to spin and get to the top position right here. Now I know we're a little bit off camera, so Mira and I are gonna back up. Okay, so we should be in a position to spin 45 this way. So we're gonna be in a position like this. So you can see her arm is caught in my leg right here. And one of the key details is her wrist is caught in my hip crease. Very important that I've got that right in there. And once it's in, I'm gonna stay sitting forward so it's difficult for her to get it out of there, okay? And so now what I'm gonna do, and if you're working with a partner, make sure they are compliant with you on this so nobody gets hurt, is I'm gonna try to make her flat on her stomach, okay? So right now she's kind of held herself up with her arms and her legs. So I'm gonna just scoot a little bit, and I'm gonna try to get her, yes, all the way down onto her stomach, just like this. That's exactly what we want, okay? So now I'm gonna make this leg squeeze kind of tight on her shoulder. This other leg is gonna come way back out of the way like this, and she's gonna be ready to tap out in just a second. So she'll tap with this hand over here, okay, her free hand. And I'm gonna be trying to use the weight of my knee to push her shoulder down, and I'm gonna bring my hips forward, and remember her hand is caught right there, so her hand is gonna kind of twist, and we're gonna get the submission on her left arm. There's the tap out right there. She's very quick, so go very slow. One more time. Right there, very small movement, okay? All right, so we're gonna show this one more time, okay? Let's scoot a little bit away from the camera. Okay, so one more time. So I've got the closed guard position, one hand is on the ground, and I've either gotten rid of this one, or if she had them both on the ground for some reason, maybe she did, then I'm just gonna make my leg come inside for a second so that I'm free, okay? So this is a great time to do it. So I'm gonna sit up, and I can pretend I'm gonna go for the Kimura that we started today's class with, or a hip bump sweep or something like that. The big thing is I make my toes do this like big circle over this way, because that's what's gonna knock her down. And now I know we move almost off camera, so we'll kind of scoot back to about here, so we're back on camera. So again, she's on her knees and kind of on her hand. Let's spin a full 180 here. Spin, 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 spin. More. Right about there. So you guys can see she's on her knees right here. It's gonna be difficult for me to finish this from her being in that position. So I'm gonna wanna scoot that way, kind of away from her body. And that usually kind of breaks her down onto her belly, okay? So I squeeze this leg tightly on her arm. I get this other leg out of the way, and I would apply some pressure for the Kimura. You okay, sweetie?
Yep.
Okay, so nice and slow. So I'm here just one more time, and there's the tap out. Okay, so again, I'll show this, how you would practice this with just like a pretend partner, and then Mira will get to have some reps on me to balance things out and get her revenge that I know she always likes to get, okay? So we're going to pretend our partner's hand is on the floor right here, okay? So I'm gonna sit up just like I'm going for the Kimura that we started with, okay? Then I'm gonna rock backwards, and I wanna make some momentum, so it is like a rocking, kind of a dynamic motion. And my toes of this foot are gonna do a big circle over. Right now I'm looking this way, And when I finish my big circle, I should be looking completely the other way. So I rock back up to right here. Okay? I'll scoot back on camera a little bit, but it should be just like this. Okay? Now, pretend that we're still in this orientation. I'm just going to go this way so you guys can see. This leg needs to quickly control their arm. If I leave it straight, they can squirm out of it. So I'm going to quickly control their arm by taking all the space away there. And then I'm going to get this leg out of the way. And remember, I want them flat on their stomach. Then to finish, I'm just going to come forward just a little bit like that. Okay? So one more time with our pretend partner. Sit up just like the Kimura. My toes are going to do big circle over this way. Okay? Big circle over that way. I quickly adjust this leg to trap their arm. See how my foot went from out there to right by my butt, right here. This leg gets out of the way, and I apply my forward pressure to get the finish. Okay, let's have Mira give it a shot now. So Mira will be on the bottom closed guard. Okay, so one hand is on the mat. I'm gonna keep this one out of the way so it doesn't interfere with Mira, okay? So what she's gonna do is sit up towards this arm. Then she's gonna unlock her legs, and she's gonna do that 180 move that I just showed. Good, so we're just like this. I'm on my knees still, and she's got my arm trapped pretty well. Now to change my position from on my knees to on my stomach, which is what she wants, she's just gonna keep her legs squeezed kind of tight on me, and maybe even use her right hand to hold my hip bone, my other hip bone.
Here?
Yes, the one, yep, and squeeze it tight, like hug in. Yes, just like this. And then she's gonna do a big scoot to her left, a big scoot to her left. Yes, and I fall to my stomach, that's perfect, okay? And so now she wants to go into basically the same position we do our 90-90 stretch. So she's gonna sit on her right side. This foot's gonna get away so I can't see it. She's gonna hide it back, and she's gonna be trying to put, yes, she's almost got to tap out, 1 more inch. There you go. So yeah, if you do any of our mobility work, we call this sort of a position like a 90-90 stretch, because I'm at about 90 degrees on both legs. And that's actually the same position we finished this technique in. Okay? So Mira will do 1 more time on me. This way, just a little. Okay, be good. Okay, so she's gonna go ahead and sit up toward my down arm here, unlock her legs, and fall back and knock me over. Good. She's gonna make a control across my belt right there. Perfect. Okay, and then she's gonna scoot to her left to knock me down. Perfect. Okay, now she's gonna stay nice and tight, go into that 90-90, and she's gonna push her knee down into the mat through my arm, 1 more inch. There it is. Okay. All right, 2 down, 1 more to go. So we've got our Kimura, which was review. We've done our omoplata, which is new to this series. We haven't done omoplata yet. And that personally is one of my favorite techniques. It's something I look for a lot from the guard. And then we're gonna go into a different armbar variation. Our first class that we covered the guard, we did 1 armbar variation. This is gonna be a different one, okay? So I'm gonna go onto my back, and I'm gonna be angled this way. So if we're here. Actually, you know what, we'll do it this way. Mira's got a little bit of a irritated shoulder on one side, so I'm trying to not further irritate that. Okay, so again, her hands are on the mat. Okay, so that she's going to go and put her hands on the mat. Okay, and that's where I'm going to start my attacks from. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, instead of coming over this way, I'm going to do the opposite angle, but I'm still accomplishing a similar thing, which is isolating her arm away from the rest of her body. That way I can use all the power of my body and my bigger muscle groups against just one isolated limb of my partner. That's the whole idea with this, okay? So before I came over around this way with either my arm or with my leg, okay? And now I'm gonna sneak from underneath, okay? So my hand here is gonna go through this gap, and that gap is gonna be there if her hand is on the mat, okay? So anytime her hand is on the mat, I can always fish this under like this. Okay? I'm gonna make my palms grab each other. Okay? Don't grab your thumbs. It's actually better to grab just like this with a thumbless grip. And then if she was trying to turn and look at me, my elbow would be a block. I'd be like elbowing her in the face, which I won't do because we can't damage her eyelashes. Okay? But I would be applying some pressure there. And now I'm gonna do that same adjustment that I did for the Kimura. So I'm gonna unlock my legs, and I'm gonna scoop to this side, and I'm gonna make her wrist land right in the crook of my neck. And I'm gonna squeeze it there with my shoulder. Now, I just slide my arms down to her elbow, and I get the tap out on her elbow right there. So it's a different kind of arm lock. This one we're gonna need to see from a few angles. So let's see, we just did that way. Let's try, what's that? That's okay. Let's go a little bit this way so everybody can see. Okay. All right, so one more time. So Mira's hands are on the mat, okay? I'm gonna snake underneath, make my hands grab, and I'm gonna pull her shoulder to me. I'm gonna have to unlock my legs, scoot to the side, and my leg comes over the top of her. And what this is doing is keeping her shoulder down so that my hands can guide her wrist right into the crook of my neck, okay? I'm gonna just keep sliding my wrist bone down her arm until I'm at her elbow, and then I push down, and she taps out right there, okay? This one really, you can stay on camera. I'm gonna do one more. It's tricky to get, but it really is worth the time investing to try to learn just the right spot to put the pressure. So the details are that if I can make her hand turn this way, thumb down and pinky up, then her arm is very vulnerable, okay? So that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use my wrist to turn her arm into this position, this thumb down, pinky up position. And once I get her there, there's this little notch right behind the elbow. And then once I get my wrist bone there, it takes like no pressure to finish this. It's an extremely vulnerable position, okay? So let's look at one more time with Mira, and then we'll do the series where I do invisible partner, and then Mira does it on me to finish up. Okay. Let me see, let's go this way. Okay, so Mira's hand is on the ground. I snake through. I double up my grip. I start to pull with my arms, and I unlock, and I come over here. So my knees are pinching. I'm trying to really pinch with my knees. Now my hands would be staying together and sliding up, but I want to make a point that it really only takes about the pressure of one finger. As long as I find the right spot on her elbow, I can push down. And with just one finger, I get the tap out. Let's look at this one more time. So if I go by her shoulder, it won't make her tap out. But if I go right to this perfect spot right by her elbow, one finger is all that it takes to make that tap out pressure happen. So as you can imagine, it takes a lot of practice to get good at finding that spot under combat conditions when the other person's trying to fight back and trying to get out. But I promise you it's possible if you actually practice this enough. A few of my partners that I've had over the years have just been fantastic at these. My friend Keisuke, who has a school in Oregon City, was always one of the people that was super, super good at these and would just, you knew it was coming and there wasn't anything that you could do about it. So Keisuke, I still remember you getting me in these all the time. And it's a great technique. And even if they escape this, that links into some other really good attacks we can do also, okay? So I'll do our invisible partner reps, and then I'll have Mira do some on me to finish up here, okay? So invisible partner, okay? Their hand is on the mat, so I'm gonna snake through, and I'm gonna make a grip like this. You see how I'm doing sort of a thumbless grip on both sides, and I just suction cup that together, okay? My hands pull down as I shift over, and I make this leg really heavy on them. Okay? So my right leg is really heavy on them. Okay? My hands start right at their shoulder, And what I do is I now use my leg to keep their shoulder down, and then my hands are going to slide right to their elbow and apply that downward pressure to get the finish. Okay? So one more time, pretend their hands on the mat here. I snake under it. I clasp my hands together. Okay? I can unlock my legs so that I can both pull and shift over at the same time. And this leg comes up high to keep their shoulder down. Right now, my knee and my hands are pretty much touching right by their shoulder, and their arm should be straight, and I should be pinching their wrist in the crook of my neck. When I first started jiu-jitsu, we would call this a telephone arm bar, because back then you used to have to hold your telephone like that in your neck and shoulder. Okay, so you can remember it as a telephone arm bar. Most people now call it a cutting arm bar. Okay, and then I am going to think about cutting. I'm just going to slide right down until I'm at their elbow, and then just a little downward pressure to finish the technique. Okay. All right, we'll get Mira in for her turn. Again, if you're following along, make sure you get your reps in right now. And then this will be the last part of class. And so if you have any questions on anything, put them in the chat feature real quick, and we'll get those answered while they're fresh on your mind. Okay, so Mira will go bottom position. Okay, so she's going to be attacking this arm. So her hand comes underneath. Other hand. That one, yep. And then she goes right up to the top of my shoulder, and she makes what we call a gable grip, where her hands connect together. Remember, no thumbs on the gable grip, okay? And then she's going to make sure her legs are unlocked, and she's gonna try to pull my shoulder to make my shoulder touch the mat over here, and she's gonna turn to her left. Good. Now, she's gonna pull her bottom knee up so it's about at my chest, and she's gonna try to touch her knees together, like squish her knees. Perfect. This feels fantastic. Now, I can feel my wrist is on her shoulder, not on her neck. So she just needs to make an adjustment to slide it. Yes, this feels really good. This knee is perfect right now. It's pushing up almost in my windpipe. She's going to adjust her other knee to be right behind my shoulder to force my shoulder to the ground. Yeah, this is real good. Okay. And now she keeps her hands together and she starts them up by my shoulder and applies downward pressure. And then she slides toward my wrist, and right as she gets to the elbow, she gets the tap out right there. Okay, so we'll show one more rep, and then we'll take a second to see if there's any questions in the chat, and then we'll call it a day after that. Okay, so one more time with Mira here. All right, let's maybe get just a different angle. Perfect. Okay, so she's going to come underneath of my arm. Collect her hands together, but higher actually, way up on that orange logo. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Now she's going to pull my shoulder over to this spot and unlock her legs and turn and look at that spot. Excellent. Okay, her bottom knee goes up right by my chin, basically. Yep, perfect. Her top knee goes right to my shoulder to smash my shoulder down. She adjusts my wrist to right into her neck and holds it like an old telephone. And then she squeezes with her knees tightly, applies downward pressure with her hands, and slides her hands to my elbow. And then she'll get the tap out from there. Usually the hardest part, of that is finding the sweet spot right on the elbow. But with some practice, you'll find it. And again, it's just this little notch right behind the bone, this little soft notch right there that very vulnerable. So, all right. If you have any last questions, go ahead and get them into the chat right now. And then otherwise, we'll see you guys on Saturday. We'll just give about 10 seconds to go in. Mira, do you have any questions?
So the grip you were talking about, you said no thumbs. So
Yep.
Does that mean like this?
Correct. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
good,
like
good.
this.
Yeah, so we call it a gable grip is the name of that grip. I'm going to get pretty close to the camera so you guys can see. So, yes, now you know how to break Chuck's arm. Perfect. Okay, so a gable grip, I'm going to make this shape with both of my hands so that there's no space between my thumb and my index finger. So not like this, not a lobster claw. I'm going all the way, no space between my thumbs and my index finger. And I'm just going to make a palm to palm grip there. It's almost like I'm trying to cover up my thumb of one side. Okay, so If I do it this way, this is my right hand. I'm pointing my right hand at the camera. I'm trying to make my right thumb completely disappear. If you can see my right thumb up here, I'm not doing the gable grip correctly. I want to make sure that I'm basically covering it and making it disappear. And this is really the strongest grip, I think. I think it's very difficult to break. I think if you have your thumbs, it's a little easier to break because your fingers can't wrap as tightly. Right here, I can wrap more of my finger when I'm using the proper gable grip compared to the open thumb version. And then definitely never interlace your fingers because now your fingers are pretty, they're isolated and can get broken that way if they get caught in something. So the gable grip is one of the best grips in grappling. Another good one we call an S grip, where I make these little hooks with my hands and I interlace my fingers like that. Well, I don't like that grip for today's technique. I like the gable grip the best, but the S grip is going to be another good one to use from time to time. So, all right, guys, that's what we've got for you for today. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions on it that you see after the fact, you couldn't join us live, leave them in the comment section and I'll get them answered for you. And then if you have any requests for future virtual classes, go ahead and send those to me and we'll get that material taken care of. As always, thank you, Mira. Another successful class with no eyelash damage, and we will see you all on Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Vidi.